Good evening, good afternoon to everyone, and good morning to people who are joining us from US. Hi, Vaibhav. Good to see you. I mean, we've got people possibly joining from the East Coast or the West Coast also. Someone who's doing an all-nighter could be joining from West Coast, US, and maybe someone from Australia who's, just about to go to bed. Because we've got our members and some of our portfolio companies across the globe now. And that's really heartening to know, that I'm like, ideally, we are looking at a situation, that each time zone should have a lead angel member or a portfolio company or something. That's the idea that we are evolving to, right from the setting sun to the rising sun.
Yeah, you speak like a politician.
सर आपसे ही सीखता हूँ सर सब नरेंद्र मोदी जी के जमाने में उनसे नहीं सीखेंगे तो किससे सीखेंगे Okay, so to begin with, Lead Angels has been very strongly working with the portfolio companies. Say time and again, like I've helped Aarti in some ways in some of her press releases, and like when I take help from at so many times, same way as I take help from Aarti also at a number of times, and we are here to it's a symbiotic relationship. While it's an investor, it's a symbiotic relationship. I learn from you, you learn from me. And in today's world, as has been earlier also, startups continue to be faced with, fierce competition. Money is easily available. There are new ideas, similar ideas, not so different ideas. They are cropping up. You have fierce competition. You have lack of not only financial resources, but there's lack of financial planning because many times you are, jumping from one track to another. You're pivoting from one side to another. So financial planning becomes extremely important. Mentoring or advice from, subject matter experts is not so freely available. And also hiring resources, the right kind of resources is a big challenge. I'm sure you'll agree to that, Vinay and Aarti.
Hugely.
What's your...
Hugely. I think one of the things that takes up more than 50% of my time, like recruiting is one of the most demanding, challenges
True.
for a founder.
True. So funds are typically picked up. I'm sure Vinay, who has presented a number of times, same as Aarti, who has presented a number of times, ask is typically divided into, to get the right kind of resources, to have, to spend on marketing, and to spend on technology. These three are the basic aspects around which your resources are spent in larger proportions. That having been said, okay, it is marketing that makes or breaks a company. It is, that one light bulb that, suddenly lit up and you catch on to that. So wanted to hear from Vinay to begin with. What was that light bulb kind of idea which just lit up and, made you get this Imli candy? Like I will, as I have put up in our posts also, Imli trees, childhood, Imli candies has all been known to children, but you made it, you have reached out to across age groups, like my mother-in-law, she used to eat more of your Imli Pops than me. How did you manage to do that? How did you manage to reach out to all this segment? What marketing routes did you play a role in? So for everyone, Vinay Kothari is the founder of GoDesi along with Raksha. And GoDesi has made a multi-million-dollar business out of selling, Imli, mango and Avla candies, whether kacha mango or pakka mango, both. Aam papad or the kacha mango, all. And even Nimbu, right? Now you have the Nimbu variant also.
Yeah,
Vinay, all yours. Stage is yours.
So I think more than marketing, it was a product format. The product format was as such that it could appeal to many consumers across age groups. What made it so as you mentioned that there were a lot of tamarind candies which were available in the market, but most of them were either completely sweet or completely sour. So one key insight that we got from Indian consumers that Indians love composite tastes, and we really easily figured out. And if you look at, I mean, we like charts, we like sweet, sour, and spicy. So that's what was there in our product, which was sweet, sour, and spicy. And at the same time, the entire presentation of the product was on a stick. And essentially, since we are an impulse-based product, it kind of helped the differentiated product format helped consumers pick it up and at least notice the product on the cash counter. So I think that was one of the reasons why we got started getting picked up from the counter. So I think the product format did the trick, and the entire packaging. So if you look at our boxes, they have a way in which they become a shelf display by themselves. So we knew that we were in a product, in a category which there is a huge, a large factor of sales is dependent on how much visible your product is. So we ensured that our package, that it was able to create that visibility on the cash counter when we were competing with large other brands. And I think that's one of the reasons that our product got picked, and then the repeat happened. In terms of channel, we used the typical social media channels for us to get into different formats and flavors in different companies, etc., and different and reach out to different geographies as well as different age groups and target audience. So I think that is what our journey has been in essentially in terms of trying to attract consumers.
Okay, so starting with the right kind of product which appeals to people, being at the right place, and using social media and others through the pandemic to ensure that you are right there, up there. And I've noticed, the moment I've told anyone, that, hey, at one time I used to climb the Imli trees, and go, they see ads used to start popping up on my, Candy Crush kind of thing and all. I think you've got the right keywords around that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Aarti, in your case, it's slightly different, isn't it? It's not so much of an impulse purchase.
Not.
What do you think?
Manish, I'll actually, and like Vinay talked about the product mix, which is of course king. Ultimately, at the end of the day, consumer comes for the final experience, right? So no marketing gimmick is really going to kind of take place of that. But I'll speak to more of the marketing aspect of it, because my business model is styling, and that is basically assisted shopping. StyleNook does is, women shop for fashion all the time. We've been doing this for centuries. And the idea is that now that the world has moved to where it has moved, and especially in the time and age where we live in, we have a problem of plenty. So shopping online or offline is a very huge fatigue creating, on one hand, it sounds very exciting. Like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going shopping. And that sounds extremely exciting, but it means I'm going to have to go through stores, browse. Now, the challenge is that besides, it's not like every store that I enter has stuff exactly relevant for me, because that's where I have to hunt and I have to look, because my body shape, my taste, my preferences, all of that may not match what's right now in the store. How do I figure out, what works for me? So one of the safer ways for people to do has been like go to some brands that they trust and say, okay, you know what, I keep constantly shopping at a Zara or a Fab India or a Marks and Spencer, and kind of stay within that. But women also love to experiment, and women are constantly trying to figure out what new things to do. And we live in an age of Instagram where every day, every hour, inspiration is just being thrown at you, right? And in that environment, to find clothes which are actually going to look great on you, not on the model, not on the influencer, but actually on me, is where the challenge lies. So that's what StyleNook solves, saying, you know what, with the help of a personal stylist, you can actually find clothes that are going to look great on you. And we do it because we leverage technology. We're able to do it for almost free, even though there is human time that goes into it. Like, styling curation, what we call, it's only 250 rupees. And even that, if you buy even one item, it's adjusted against it. So technically it's free. It's a new concept, and the product itself, like, I mentioned earlier, that has to have enough, gravitas in itself. The great news is that once people start using StyleNook, they become addicted. Because it just becomes so intuitive, right? Like, hey, I have a Goa trip coming up. Let me just, send a note to my stylist. I have like, 15 recommendations. Now I know that, okay, every single recommendation, by the way, is in my size, in my preferences, in my budget. All I need to do is just go ahead and purchase. So from a marketing point of view, Manish, I'll say this. I mean, there are, of course, your channels, whether it's online, offline, your, social media, your influencers. There are a bunch of these channels. But to be honest, and I think this I would say to any marketer, right? There are no light bulb moments. We hope and pray and live for a time that, okay, you will turn something on and it will just kind of say, okay, let there be light. Marketing by definition, and especially new age marketing, and I've lived through many different forms of marketing all these years, we no longer can afford to have a spray and pray approach. That I launch a campaign and I sit back and let it do its work. You have to experiment. You have to have very, very strong hypothesis that, okay, this campaign I'm launching with this hypothesis, this is what I'm expecting out of it. And then you have a measurable outcome that you measure it against, saying, okay, this worked. You may discover something else. You may try to test a hypothesis saying that, okay, this campaign is probably going to get me XYZ results. And when you actually run it, you may get something else. If that alternate result is going to add value to your campaign, go ahead, learn more and, improve more on it. So I think it comes down to, honestly, like I've been doing marketing now for like more than 20 years. And I still read up every single day. It's not a choice. Channels evolve, channels develop, mechanics come change. I mean, I started my career with even digital marketing when we used to do something called banner advertising. Today, I mean, everything is video. We're moving towards a world of lives. So, I mean, and that's going to keep changing and that's going to keep evolving. And so the idea of saying, okay, there is one spark and there is one tube light or a light bulb moment saying, okay, this is it, honestly doesn't happen that way. You may figure out something which takes up a large chunk. Like, so in Style Nook, in our journey, for example, we have recognized that just a pure advertising model doesn't work for us. And we've done this only by constantly testing and learning. In my business, because it's a relatively new concept, I require advocacy. Advocacy is actually the core, which means I need to make sure that I'm able to leverage my customers. I'm able to leverage, strong influencers and a very strong referral program that allows people to, have some hand holding in the process. Now, how I implement that, I can implement it through, some amount of referral programs. I have some amount of, pretty deeply involved, influencer programs that I have. But that's one of those things that's, I mean, then that's at this stage. As the business grows, as the brand grows, we may evolve and we will have to kind of look at what's in that stage. So there is no one light bulb moment really.
Right. But yet again, as startups, I mean, I have heard this from someone or heard partial of it, but when I talk to startups, I ask them, so when a startup asks me, what is the key to success, of your portfolio? Why is there so less mortality amongst your portfolio? I said, as by default, when we are talking to our portfolio companies, we tell them 3 key things are success to your, would lead you to success. And that is focus, focus, and focus. So if you are focused, if you have a target segment, which is a focused group, your marketing is focused around that, and your budgets are focused around that too. Then with this extreme focus, as they say, Arjun was the hero of Mahabharata because he had extreme focus. That's what we tell or our say this thing also. So Vinay, what would you say to this? Focus, 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 and things will work for you. Of course, there's experimentation involved, no doubt. But yeah,
I mean, there's not too much choice involved. When you have limited resources, you have to focus on specific products and products which are giving bang for your buck. So that's how you, for example, like GoDesi, Desi Pops is the largest product category. So we go into outlets with those particular products, and because we know that there is going to be a great conversion rate, both online and offline, and great repeat rate. So that becomes a great entry point for the product for the consumer in the GoDesi portfolio. And therefore it is the easiest way and the most logical way of getting consumers to your to your experience the brand. And once the consumer experiences your brand, and then he can unlayer all the other features that you stand for, whether it is sustainability, whether it is the social enterprise part of it, whether it is the impact part of it. But the first key thing is Desi Puffs and the fact that it is a product which tastes extremely good. With an attention span of less than 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you can't talk about that, oh, I am tasty also, and then, hey, I have no preservatives, and oh, hey, I have no sugar also. Oh, hey, by the we also employ 50 women. So I mean, the message gets lost. So yeah, it is imperative. It is imperative, but how do you figure out what that key focus point is specifically in terms of communication medium is as how Aarti put it, it's extremely iterative, right? You don't know. You might think that a particular product is being bought because of, say, XYZ taste by taste for a particular segment, but it could be something completely different. It could be maybe the fact that it doesn't have any sugar, hypothetically, but that essentially what you should avoid, what we try to avoid this pitfall is that what we think about the product is not necessarily what the consumer thinks about the product, or why the consumer, we might have launched the product for X benefit, but he or she is buying it for some Y benefit altogether. And that's okay, as long as the consumer is buying, and you're able to unearth that insight and then build on that insight. So that's, I think, what we take today.
In case I'm not mistaken, you clearly add, I'm like, Imli with a taste of jaggery. You don't use sugar, right?
No, we don't.
So I think so these are some of the product elements which you have been using, but in a subtle manner you put across to your customers. And sometimes when there's an event of, say, like Health Day or International Health Day or something, someone can just pick that up, that, hey, here are these candies, they don't use sugar at all. And that becomes someone to refer it to other guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly what I said, that, you buy Desi Puffs for taste, but then once you buy the taste and you're like, oh my God, this product is brilliant. And then you turn around the pack, and then you see, oh, this doesn't have sugar also. So that's like a second layer of communication. You're not really talking about that it doesn't have sugar. I mean, nobody's going to buy my candy because it doesn't have sugar. People are going to buy it because it's tasty. So that's how we keep our focus on the taste front.
Right. Right. Yeah. So which channel works the best for you? This is a D2C impulse product. Which is the channel that works best for you? Online.
So online, okay. See, I think every channel has its own uses. Online on our website becomes a great way for us to connect to consumers in a much more deeper, meaningful way. Whereas the platform becomes a great, like Amazon and Flipkart and Instamart and so on and so forth, become a great place to connect to people who are already, say, lower down in the purchase funnel, right? They're already seeking for some candy, or they're already typing and searching tamarind candy or imli candy, or they're searching for something which is, so there's a large customer base which is already residing there. So that becomes a great channel for itself. Offline again becomes a great channel because that's where the industry is, right? 90% of the industry still is offline. So that becomes a great channel for building a large sustainable business. So every channel has its own space, I would say, and eventually they come together in creating a large brand in that sense.
Right.
And
okay. Interesting. Aarti, in your case, it is not an impulse purchase. Which channel works the best for you? Can I take a guess?
Yes.
Okay. Would you be having better results from LinkedIn?
That is not a guess. But yeah, so, Manish, in our case, I think it was also a matter of, both my co-founder Kuntal and I, right? I mean, we've been working for many years and we have a network. We actually are quite relatively known in the industry. But what we also did is when we were launching the business, and that's no longer the case, but when we launched the business, our go-to market strategy was working women.
Okay.
And working women and their life cycles. And the hypothesis, again, it all comes down to the hypothesis. Hypothesis was, this is a woman with higher dispensable income. She has the ability to, and we are an online, credit card only business, right? We don't have COD. So people can come and shop only through digital payments, which is so much easier today. But when we launched, it wasn't, and we wanted to make sure.
It wasn't so. Exactly.
Yes. We didn't have UPI. We didn't have, we just had Paytm wallets. It was very early stages. The number of credit cards in the country has always been pitiable. So with that perspective, we went with, a target group where we figured that, okay, they should be able to make digital payments. In their life cycle, they have a very strong need for a service like this, right? A working woman means she's going to office every day. She needs to dress up. She has to have access to a high quality wardrobe. She also has a very busy life outside of work, just because, her hours are shrunken even in the social, time that she has, because she's working. And so for her, she was just like really, just the absolute right audience for us. And LinkedIn was really like, an interesting platform. Because we are fashion is visual, right? Fashion is, exciting, and fashion therefore naturally translates so much better in terms of our storytelling of what we can do for our clients. And for that, you have Instagram, which is a lot better, or even a Facebook for that matter, or Pinterest also we've played around with a little bit. But surprisingly, LinkedIn, which was really honestly often just like some inside stories, or just like, some journey stories, that actually has had like a pretty interesting, conversion for us. It was more in the early days, I'll say that. But as we have like, grown, as we've kind of expanded, we've of course like developed multiple channels, but LinkedIn was definitely a very interesting channel for us. And it was all purely organic. There was no paid marketing on that platform.
True. And like, as they say, so like, when we fund startups, so I tell them, that so the funding story of yours, I'll help you not only how it is put up, but where all it will be put up. And the first thing they ask is, sir, what will be the cost? And I say, what cost? They say, no, all these portals and everything they charge. I said, not to me, not to Lead Angels. So some advantages that we have, and that's exactly what this portfolio management services is all about. We've got so many of our portfolio companies, we've got so many members, we've got subject matter expertise like HubSpot. I can help you get a 90% discount in the first year. Continue it with 50% discount in the next year, because that will be available to my portfolio only. If you go individually, you may not get it, right? And in the similar fashion, so like when you started, Aarti, initially you didn't have so much of money, so you started out on LinkedIn. It really clicked. It was a bulb. I'm sure it was a bulb moment. यार LinkedIn पर बिकता है? नहीं, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. Okay, and
no, but it really comes down to, Manish, back to experimentation, right? You run your hypothesis. You think, yeah, sure, LinkedIn is intuitively not the channel, but what do you think about it? Where is my target audience? Sure, they are on LinkedIn. One of the other things, again, hypothesis, is that people don't spend enough time on LinkedIn as compared to any of the other social platforms. And you know what? This is actually true. This is absolutely right. Because as a platform, LinkedIn pe aap roz nahi jate ho, right? There are times, some of us do, and a lot of us don't. There's a lot of spurred behavior. You mostly go every day to a platform like an Instagram or a Facebook or a Twitter. LinkedIn is not that frequent for a lot of people. However, in our case, what was also relevant was that when you go to LinkedIn, what is that headspace? So typically people go to LinkedIn when they're looking for a job, or, they're in sales, which means they're trying to develop a network. Sales, business development, what have you, right? They're trying to develop a network. They're trying to reach out to a host of people so that they can, collaborate with them, partner with them. Or you could be in HR and you are constantly recruiting, or not just HR. You could be a founder, you could be in HR, whatever. Somebody who's constantly recruiting. And each of these people, just by nature of the, persona, they also do need to dress up on a regular basis and dress well. They also have very little time. So, the hypothesis clicked quite well for us, even though the platform did not seem the most, but that's the hypothesis we went with, saying, okay, we recognize that this may or may not work. In fact, even when we've worked with fashion influencers in the pure fashion space as well, right? Again, hypothesis to chipkana hi padta hai. Okay, this is what I think that this influencer has. We've actually had some interesting behavior where we test something out, saying, what everybody is saying, go with high profile influencers. we can't not test it out. Even though our hypothesis says this may not work, we can't not test it out. Put a small amount of budget behind it, put your best foot forward and see what it does. Take the results and then you realize that, okay, you know what, my hypothesis was true, that this will not work for us. But figuring out कि ये हमारे लिए नहीं चलता is also equally important.
True. So having discussed what are the do's, when I'll start out with you, you've been at ITC for quite a few years. What were you selling at ITC, if I may ask?
Biscuits. I mean, everything, but mostly biscuits.
Achha.
At the end
so
of the
Sunfeast, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coming from there and coming to this segment, I mean, what are the don'ts that you will tell for startups specifically? I mean, boss, ye nahi karne ka hai tumhare. Is there any specific, no, you won't do this? We've discussed a lot of what you will do, how you will test out. Is there a specific message that don't try this or don't do this?
I think from don't perspective, what I feel is that don't wait for the perfect script to come by or the perfect ad to come by, and I mean, try and iterate as much as possible, and then improve. So I think that's one of the key things. And that's one of the key ways that we are very different from, say, a large company in terms of startups. What I essentially see in that, we used to take at ITC, and obviously the amount which was at stake was also much larger, so therefore you take too much time, but you don't use the same kind of principles, that you're not waiting for like 6 months to churn out an ad, or 12 months to churn out an ad, or a marketing campaign, etc. So I think that's one. I think another don't is don't stop trying multiple channels, because you never know which one clicks for you. So you keep trying multiple channels and try and figure out as to which channel works and which channel does not work. And don't stop talking to your consumers. I mean, these are very simple, basic fundamentals. I think the fundamentals don't change. Don't try and change the fundamentals. Marketing is like, fundamentally there are those 6 or 7 techniques of influence. And you don't change that. Your channel might change, but your techniques of influence, and with this beautiful book by Robert Cialdini, I'm maybe pronouncing the name wrong, the book is called Influence. And he wrote this almost like, I think, 25 years back. But the influence, the fundamental principles of influence don't change. What Ogilvy wrote about how to write a good ad and how to understand your consumer and how to attract, they don't really change. So a lot of my learnings and how we translate into ads still come from them. I mean, we still keep reading those books and try and work with the principles remain the same. The channels might change every year, every month, but fundamentals will remain the same.
Very true. So a clear learning for the audience at large: use the portfolio theory. Don't put all your eggs into one channel, one basket. Spread them out, test out, see what works, and then double down on what is working. Okay. Aarti, any other don'ts that you would like to add?
So I absolutely agree with Vinay. I mean, the fundamentals is what matters. In fact, yesterday I spoke to the founder of a very young business. I mean, they're still kind of in beta mode. And, I literally, I mean, the call I was kind of doing to mentor for marketing strategy. And then through the call, one of the very meaningful things we figured is that this founder was actually not even ready for a B2C play, which came down to what is your fundamental, right? What is your product? What is your positioning? So it's a business that this person was trying to develop, and they've been doing this for a few months now. They have access to some fabulous quality stalls, the stalls and scarves, and they obviously want sales. I mean, that's the final goal for every single business, right? And they reached out to me to mentor for some good, cool marketing campaigns to be able to sell the stalls, which I said, sure, I'll be happy to chat. The more we had the conversation, I realized that, and because this is a young team, very early stages, the founder, the mentality is a very trading mentality. What they really wanted is, mujhe aap ek campaign bata do, jo main chala do. And I was like, no, yaar, aise nahi hota hai. There is no one answer to this. You are going to have to, build your brand. You are going to have to find your audience. You are going to have your, like I said, various hypotheses. And as we spoke, and that founder was saying, oh, but ye to bahut zyada kaam lag raha hai. And which is true. I mean, hai ye kaam. But the thing is this calm that motivates you and excites you? Ki haan, ye try karte hain, ye try karte hain, ye try karte hain. Or is this something that truly feels, oh my God, this is drudgery and burden? And if that is it, then you figure out that on the spectrum of that business, where do you want to sit? And I ended up encouraging the founder to think more about sitting on the B2B side of the spectrum, where they will not have to bear this burden of, constantly having to market. Then you go into a business development mode. You sell it to, a seller or a brand who can actually market it well, and you make your margin. So ultimately, it also comes down to your positioning and what is it that you're going to be able to run as a business. So that's one of the first don'ts, right? Like, don't do something just because everybody else is doing it. There is no cut formula. You have to do your reflection. You have to do your, really like deep in reading into your own self, that what am I trying to do with this business? At the end of the day, of course, all of us are trying to make these fantastic businesses where we'll make lots of money and we'll feel great about having built something fabulous. But usme bhi kya? Where on the spectrum, where am I going to sit? What are my strengths? What am I going to bring to the table? And I may not have all the strengths. I mean, that's always true, right? Every founder has only so and so strengths, and then you have to kind of build for around the strength. In my case, like Kuntal and I, we are co-founders, and one of the things that the reason we came together is also because we had very complementary strengths. As we build the team out, constantly looking for people who fill more gaps, so that overall as a company, we are able to actualize that vision. But we are very clear, our play was always B2C.
Right. So, the don'ts is again, never lose sight of your customer.
Never. And understand who your customer is. Be very careful.
Exactly. That is the most important thing. Half the people are like, so like, in fact, someone was telling me, I was talking to someone, I said, hey, I'm going to have Aarti on the panel. So the person said, so like Aarti Gupta was with Hopscotch earlier. I said, yes, exactly. I said, just ask her one question. How did she reach out to those parents who were not actually the customers? And the kids were wearing those things and all. I said, but boss, the customer is the parent, because parent is dressing up the kids. So customer is the parent. They want their kid to look in a certain manner. I'm like, me and my wife would love to have our kids writing the UPSC exam, because that's the way we think them to be, right? Ki aap ye karoge. So everyone sees himself in the kids. And that's how they dress them up or make them, say, study or talk or walk or whatever it is. And that's what most people don't understand, that who's your customer? Like in Vinay's case, I am sure, I saw this coupon of ours, which comes in our newsletter, Go Desi. I said, let me see if it works also or not. And to my surprise, there's an additional discount on the boxes that he sends across. So I ordered 2 of them. And before I had only a few candies. It was my mother-in-law who had most of them, and my son who had the next most of them. Me and my wife hardly got any. So we may be the customers. Who consumes it is a different thing. And because they consumed it, I ordered again then. Because again, it is required. Okay. So, say for example, in the case of say Aarti. So for everyone, Aarti is running Style Nook along with Kuntal. And what they have is a personalized stylist is there for you, who helps you with your measurements, the kind of clothes that will look good on you based on your how you look, how you want to look. And the stylist can help you look even better. Okay, that's the idea what Aarti and Kuntal have done together. Aarti is the marketing brains. Kuntal is the number cruncher and the data analytics person. In fact, we have Kuntal also with us. And to her, I will ask one question. Okay, now everyone says, marketing is as much science as much as art. So what is the arty part and what is the science part? When I'll come to you right after that. So Kuntal, what is the science you see in all your numbers that you go through, and how you putting AI to work, where you getting your data from? Could you show us, could you show the audience where you are, and I'm like, how you go about it? Kuntal, are you there?
I think she's there, but I don't think she was prepared to,
okay.
being asked a question.
Okay. You can just answer the question if you don't want to put up the video. I think there's some mic problem or something. Aarti, would you like to add to it?
Honestly, I mean, like I said, in our complementary skill sets as founders, Kuntal is truly the, brain behind our AI and our machine learning and the data and analytics aspect. But fundamentally, honestly, both of us, at the end of the day, it really crunches down to something really simple. What does the customer, who is your customer, what are you solving for them, and how are you solving? I think Kuntal started responding on text, so she can do that, and I'll let her only take this question. Yeah, Manish, is that okay? Now we've lost Manish. Yes, hi.
Could you read it out to the audience, please?
I would be happy to. I think Kuntal's asking you to repeat the question. Would you please do that?
Okay. So the repeat question is, marketing is as much art as science. And since you are taking care of the analytics part, the science part of it, what all do you do about it? How do you go about it? And how do you marry the art and science together?
Okay. Sorry, I'm actually not in I don't look really good, just to be honest, but happy to answer the question. I think, in a business like ours, especially, we have a very clear sense of who it is that we're kind of going after, and what is it that we also want her to do at every single stage, right? So I think the science part around it comes from, your aspects about segmentation, targeting, trying to kind of get it down to a stage where you have a very good sense of who is it that you're actually speaking to. And in our case, because we are going ahead and also we go ahead and we actually talk about, we collect a lot of information about the users. So the ability to kind of, test out hypotheses actually becomes really critical. So every single time we decide that we want to do XYZ, we make it very clear that, okay, these are the kind of things that we're kind of looking at, and these are the kind of, campaigns that we want to run. This is the hypothesis that we have, that, targeting so-and-so segment with this kind of a messaging should lead to XYZ. And I think the whole idea of, I think the science and the art is where, the art is in terms of how do you actually now deliver this message so that it stands out? How do you actually, do something that is a little bit path breaking? And the science aspect about it is where you kind of go ahead and understand that, you measure it, you iterate, and then you start quickly developing it out and making sure that it goes, in as many places as it can. I think the other angle, which which we've also done, and it's something that definitely we could kind of, it's not necessarily marketing per se, but I think it actually falls into the blend of marketing and product. And that's actually seeing how your user behaves in different aspects and using that to build prediction models, right? So whether it's a matter of saying that in that user journey from being a prospect to becoming a customer, what are the various steps that she's taking? From a user becoming a customer to a valuable lifetime, to a valuable customer for the company, what are the steps that happen? What is the interaction? So when you look at those angles around, what is it? What is the behavior pattern? What are some of the indicators? That's where actually the science comes in. Then how you choose to deliver, how you choose to implement a lot of this is, I think, where the art comes in. I hope that kind of answers it.
Sure. So Vinay, I think he has to step out of the meeting. Something urgent is coming up. So, but quickly, your words on the art and science concept of marketing, and how do you deliberate between the two, or
by the way, are you eating a Desi Pops right now?
No. I'm just. I wish. Actually, I do have a lot of pops, but I think I'm not eating one of them. So for us, I think what has online or digital advertising has done is that being able to understand the consumer individually. Usually used to get aggregate level data, but with digital marketing, specifically on your website, you're able to get individual based customers. So for example, just to give you certain, so we have a small, that's the urgent need that I have to step out for. We have a small outlet opening in Bangalore today. And so what we were able to do is that we were able to find all the customers who have ordered around 5 kilometers radius within that, from that outlet, from our website. So we have we've shipped till date more than 2.2 lakh orders. So we were able to get a good customer sense of around 2,000 customers who were within the same pin code, or that's around 5 kilometer radius pin code. And we were able to send a targeted WhatsApp message to all of them saying, hey, here is a store opening which is happening. If you come to the store, here's a 10-15% discount which is available for you. So that's the way that you are able to use data to cut and splice. And this is just a very simple example, but there are many other examples, like say a customer who's bought a particular product and we are launching another sweet product. So we can filter down, okay, how many customers have bought sweet products from us, and therefore send out a new sweet when a sweet product comes in. We send out the email or WhatsApp to those customers. Or how many customers have bought a sour and spicy version, or customers who have an extra spicy version of Desi Pops, have they ordered, and if we launch something extra spicy, then we send that out to them. So there are a lot of cutting and splicing of data which is possible when you have consumer data with you. You're also able to not only, you can also understand which channels are making a lot of money for you and which channels are not making a lot of money for you, and able to create P&L for every single channel. So all those data, I think, kind of help and work in creating that the science part of the entire data piece. Eventually, your the art or the creative part of it is depending upon what is the communication message, and then communication message. Even though if I'm sending out, again taking the example of sending out a message to my store, there is a specific language that I use to call customers. It would not be hey, but it needs to align with what the brand thesis is, what the brand identity is. And I think that's where the art thing comes in. So yeah, data will tell you, okay, these are the 500 customers that you need to send a message to. The art will tell you what is the message that needs to go, and what is the language that needs to go, and what image needs to go, and what creative needs to go. So that's where I think the art piece comes in. So they have to marry each other to be able to create a very effective marketing strategy. And it's all a learning process. I think 95% of the time we get it wrong, but sometimes we do get it right. So, and then you double down on that thing.
And yet create a multi-million-dollar business.
Oh, I think the industry is so huge that it's pretty easy to create a large business in consumer food.
Sure. Thanks so much, Vinay, for this thing. If you have to step out, I'm like, I won't hold you back.
Apologies, and I'm happy to talk to anybody. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty available. So if there's anything and anybody wants to meet or talk or speak to me, happy to reach out. And apologies, I have to step out so early today, but I have to get there for my store opening today.
Sure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Vinay. And some of our portfolio companies will be reaching out to you for your insights on how to go about the D2C part of it, or the B2C part of it, and we will pull you in with say enough notice so that there are no breaks or such breakout sessions.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks so much, Vinay. Good to have you over, and hope there are many more Imli Pops and Arm Pops bought by the crowd. Crowd, please try it out. And if you have Lead Angels newsletter, there's a special code of LA 15 or 20, I don't know what. You'll get a special discount on that. Make use of that and try it. I'm telling you, everyone in your household will love it. I can assure you of that. Okay.
Thank you so much, Manish, for all the support and the help.
Yeah, Vinay.
Thank you.
Vinay, when you have Manish, you don't need marketing.
Bilkul. I should put his conversation as an ad on my Instagram video, and I think I'm going to get a lot of conversions. I'm getting that.
So I'll get my agent to talk to you, Vinay. I'll get my agent to talk to you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Okay, bye. Yeah. So Aarti and Kuntal, there are quite a few questions on the side. Some of them, if you could help answer. While on the side, there is a feedback form. Please fill it up. if you want to use portfolio services of Lead Angels, or not want to, or want to give a, brickbat or a kudos for the program that we've had, please do so. There is a startup, Himanshu has a startup. One sec, let me just get on with the thing. Okay, so Aarti's business I have already described. If anyone has a question on it, please feel free to raise your hand. Oh, Kuntal's video is on. Hi, Kuntal.
Yeah, I decided I'll make myself look a little presentable and then come on.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Okay, so there's a question from Anil Balan. He's a co-founder of Splendray, a retail tech startup who's built an ecosystem for consumer engagement for SMBs. Acha, he's just introducing himself. Okay. Anil, you have any question? You want to...
Seeing some questions here, Manish.
Yeah, we do have a question from Bikram Sil. And he's asked us to share some insights about growth hack for bootstrapping and for an FMCG startup.
And I think it would
have been वो इनसे नहीं मिलेगी, ये funded हो गए हैं, ये funded हो गया, bootstrap नहीं रहे ये. But sure, I'm like that's in a lighter vein that I said. But no, yes, Aarti, how do you?
No, it's also FMCG startup, so it would have been ideal for
actually.
Yeah, exactly. So Bikram might be a better idea for you to reach out to him on LinkedIn because
still,
got that.
So you've done hopscotch, you've done other things also. थोड़ा help कर दो, bootstrap करना है उसको तो कैसे करेगा वो?
FMCG startup है तो I think ultimately it comes down to sampling of your product, right?
Yes.
So I think your early bootstrapping, literally identify locations and again clusters of target audience. Very often, I mean, one of the good strategies that has worked in like metros is going to some of the big high-rise buildings and kind of just offering, mere building mein to ye regularly hote rehta, and we discover a lot of brands as a result of that. But, from candy to dosa batter to beer, a lot of bootstrapping startups come and, do some these very early testing strategies. It's actually a great idea because what also happens is, with these kind of, when you identify a market and you see a fit, you can also do some very hacky ordering process. Literally WhatsApp groups pe order hote rehte. So that's actually been in my observation. I've obviously not worked this beach and I've not done anything in that sense to be able to advise better. The other is again, FMCG product, it all comes down to distribution. So figure out other distribution channels where you can get products in the hands of customers. That's your ideal, way to do it, and do it in, like I said, these kind of community and building strategies. It could be, I mean, I would have said college in another time, but of course we're living through the pandemic. So that's also not always easily available as a means and mechanics anymore. But honestly, I think the societies and buildings is a good way to kind of, test a few things out.
Okay. And there's a question on how good or bad Instagram plus influencer culture as a platform has been for style, no? You'd like to take it or would Kuntal like to take it?
No, Aarti is like the expert on all of this. So I'll let her, if there's any tech related or any AI related stuff, I'm happy to kind of chime in, but.
Yep.
Sure. So Instagram, honestly, I mean, on one hand is fabulous, right? Because you have people are consuming content. They're consuming content every day, several hours a day. If you look at people's Instagram consumption, some of these numbers are just pretty crazy. I think fundamentally the answer is there's no good or bad. Ultimately, it comes down to who is your customer and what is that customer doing on that platform. And in that sense, for Style Nook, I mean, Instagram has been a pretty good channel. It has not been our only channel. Again, influencers have been a pretty meaningful source of traffic and conversion for us, but every single influencer doesn't work out for us. So we now we worked with more than 100 influencers, actually more than that, like I would say that number is close to 200. And we figured out who is our fit in terms of an influencer. So we no longer we have like a little bit of a matrix structure as to we know which influencer is the one that we want to kind of, work with. And they don't necessarily fit in your typical parameters. So again, there's no spray and pray approach. Just because Instagram works for a lot of brands, you ultimately have to figure out how will it work for your brand. Again, just because influencers do work for a lot of brands, you have to figure out how it will work for you. Vice versa, a lot of influencers don't work out as well, but that's not good enough to say, yes, therefore we'll not use them at all. You use them in the right way and they can actually work well for your brand.
Okay, I hope that answers your question.
It is broad, I know, but I'm just saying without understanding what that business is, it's a little difficult to kind of,
True. And I think most people would like to know ROI किस पर better है आपका, LinkedIn पर better है आपका या
mixed bag है क्योंकि एक तो multi channel conversion भी होते रहता है. ऐसे, we live in a world, like I said, where we actually all hope for saying, okay, एक ad दिखा दिया, ठक से click करके conversion हो जाएगी, and real life doesn't work like that.
It doesn't, of course not.
So every channel is critical, and you often have multi-channel conversion, and some channels you maintain your, presence and your engagement just purely from an engagement perspective, knowing that they may convert from another channel.
Right. So Weber was asking, is marketing totally test market strategy? Or is there some fixed mantras for marketing for service industry startup? For service industry? So yours is a service industry only,
Ours
right?
is a service industry.
Absolutely. So like it's styling service that you're selling in the garb of making people buy fashion, which fits. Correct. So that returns are less.
So I think the service industry definitely has to avoid some of the pitfalls of, what a product industry could do. So for example, in my case, fashion, right? If I literally kind of go very traditional, if my Instagram content, if my, any engagement with my customers starts looking very typically like what any other fashion brand would do, then people won't understand what my service is really. So that ability to tell your story, I mean, if I was a pure fashion designer brand, all I would need to do is I've designed a new collection. This is amazing, this kurta, this dress. And I start selling, and I could start selling literally on Instagram. I don't even have to have a website. But in my case, it's not that. It's actually the personalization and curation that we do for a specific client, which means that piece is actually far more critical to understand versus saying this specific kurta. Of course, the end product is the kurta that the customer is going to end up buying, but why this kurta for me? So it does become, for a service industry, it becomes a little bit more evolved. Again, it comes down to the fundamentals, guys. There are like lots of, these very fancy foo-foo strategies, but like strip that all off and come down to fundamentals. What is my service? Who is it for? Where is she? And how am I going to catch her in that headspace? I think that headspace is pretty important.
And
sorry, I speak for her because my customers are women.
So I'll just add something to this, Aarti. In a commoditized product zone, like banking, like fashion also for that matter, I'm like, it's as much as Zara, as an H&M, as anything else. What you're putting inside is a layer of services which could, enhance the experience for the customer. So, and that customer could really feel good around it. Or if your service is not good, then he may not feel so good about it, and then he would not come back. So that services element, that human element is what will, that is the experience layer that you are giving to that person, which will pull him back or pull her back for that matter. And for others, I'm like, Himanshu, you are sending your pitch in over here. I don't think we'll be able to download it over here, but surely you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or to send it a mail to info@leadangels.in and we will get it evaluated. Josh has put up a form again. Please, your feedback would be most forthcoming. Kuntal, you could also add to it. As a panelist, what more would you like us to do in such a program? And apart from that, we have yours is done. I'm Manisha. No, this is done. One sec.
I think there are a couple of questions that I could respond to.
Marketing resources are very expensive today. How does Lead Angels Network help its portfolio company?
That's for you, Manish.
Yeah, that's for me. So I will get experts like Aarti to answer your questions, to help you out with your strategy. We've got subject matter experts, not only in our portfolio companies, but amongst our members also. And that's exactly what this outreach program is to kick off. We've got some really great people in terms of marketing, in terms of how to analyze it, how to go about visualizing the data that you have, and we could actually put them all together and help out the company. we understand, the kind of initial money that you raise is not enough to, take a full-time person. You cannot hire a full-time person on a total budget of, say, 2 crores. Okay. You take a good marketeer, that cost itself could be maybe 2 crores itself for the year. But what we can do for you is make life easier for you. Here are the do's and don'ts. And here is a person who can help you out with. Now you can help that person through ESOPs, through a stock program, or through, say, a commission program, or through, say, various things. That's up to you. What hooks you plan to have into that person. That part, we allow you to do that. And come up with a scheme which, really works for you. And again, you've got a number of questions, which blog to use, what AdWords to use, what social media marketing, etc. Those are the kind of things you can really reach out to people. In fact, we have our experts who are ready to provide their services at a fraction of a cost what would be there in the outside world. That is also there in some of our newsletters and in our, say, outreach programs like this. Okay. Some of the questions that you read, some insights about growth hack for bootstrapping, that is done. We are building world-class online chess training platform for kids. Which questions did you read?
Yeah, no, I haven't done the chess one. I think the bootstrapping one, we passed it for Vinay.
Yeah. Any insights for startups in the non-product segment, service-oriented startup for D2C brands that can always be packaging and product quality? What is it that should be the focus for startups in the service sector? How should they drive their marketing strategy?
Sorry, where am I? I'm not seeing this question, Manish, but I'm trying.
Oh, this is a direct message to me. Let me. So this person is saying that
questions on here, which I have some thoughts about. So I can quickly kind of run some answers for that. I think
why don't you do that?
The one about chess training. Yeah, I think performance marketing is quite expensive. So you will have to figure out some hack methods of, how to work with your, ultimately you're working with parents, right, for this category. So how do you kind of do it? SEO could be a good option, because I think somebody who is interested and invested in training for chess as a long-term thing is likely to do a lot of search. So SEO and SEM, and you start with SEM, but kind of, invest in developing strong SEO on that front. That could be a good option. Figuring out some of the parenting platforms, again, from a hacking point of view, right? Some parenting platforms, and honestly, when it comes to parenting platforms, it is mostly mommy platforms. I mean, there's a lot of strong community approach within the moms. I don't think dads get that involved, but that's fine. I think that is also good enough. So those could be some of your organic mechanics. And again, you will have to do performance marketing. You will have to do paid marketing. At no stage I'm going to say that, that's not important. It's just that if you have enough organic traction coming in, that allows you to, subsidize some of the costs, so that when the paid channels become expensive, you still have some traffic coming in from your organic channels and converting for you. So yeah. The next one is Bikram. Okay, in a crowded market, how can one look at differentiation? What will drive a consumer to your offering product service? I
think that will take 3 such lectures. And find the problem. Who is your customer? Find the problem. Solve the problem. What are the key differentiators?
It won't even take a lecture, honestly. It will take a lot of reflection and introspection.
Oh yes.
So it's for the founding team, the founder, to kind of sit and kind of go through that.
So we can take a week holiday and I will take you through whole of this process. कहाँ ले जा रहे हो बता दो मेरे को.
To choose the destination.
I think we're also kind of coming close to the end of this, right?
Right.
What we can do is there's one question that I've seen that I'd actually love to address, and then
yes, please.
The rest of them, we're happy to kind of answer any questions on LinkedIn and keep the dialogue going and share. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there also, as Aarti mentioned, we constantly are reading. Things are changing very quickly for all of us in terms of channels and mechanisms. And so in that sense, it's always good to kind of be on top of it. But I think Udit has asked this question about what are possible strategies for increasing retention and engagement in early stages of startups. And I think it's a great question, because a lot of times in your early days, you're focused on acquisition, acquisition, acquisition. And in that whole process, you may be building a very nice leaky bucket where you keep on getting more and more users, but you don't have anything in terms of figuring out how to kind of keep them going, right? So I think number one, I mean, as far as retention and engagement is concerned, I mean, you have to make sure your product or service or whatever it is actually great, because that's the only reason she will kind of keep coming back to you, right? If you're doing a shoddy job, then you have to kind of make up in other ways to kind of ensure that customer keeps coming back to you. That's expensive in the forget the long run, it's expensive in the short run. So I think that's one. I think two, in terms of retention engagement nowadays, there's actually so much that can be done, right? It's kind of cool to kind of identify who are your power users, who are your ambassadors, do something special for them, make them feel that, oh my God, it is so cool to be a part of this brand, not just for the stuff that I get directly from this brand, but for the fact that, you know, I get a whole lot more. I feel like I'm a part of something larger. And all of us, if we're doing something, you know, where we're changing how behavior is, or we're changing some aspect of an industry, your customer can actually be part of that, which makes her also feel like she's a part of something over and beyond just that core transactional thing that exists for your product. I don't know what you do, but I'm saying in general, I think there are always these different things. Content, fantastic way to kind of, you know, ensure that you are engaging with your user with zero expectation of any transaction taking place, whatever it could be, right? So from a Styleno perspective, there are often emails sent out around fabric care. This has nothing to do with our product, but we know that, you know, it's a huge part and parcel of clothing is just about how you maintain your clothes and take good care of it, and what are some of the things that can be done. We have lives where we have sessions and lives where we talk about how to kind of figure out, you know, how to manage your wardrobe, how to dress if you're a certain age. All these things are just like pure content that we're actually giving out to our users, right? And it's ensuring that there is an emotional bond that starts getting built up over and above just the transaction of come and purchase XYZ. So I think focusing on what you do, understanding what is differentiated in that sense about what you do, making sure your experience is exceptional, and keep working on it. Can't be exceptional from day one. Let's be honest, we're all startups. And so there is something that is not going to be perfect, but how do you kind of get to that spot where you actually feel like, okay, it's getting to be exceptional? And then I think in a crowded marketplace like we all are in, right? How are you creating experiences over and above just a product that the person is going away and buying from you? And then I think content and giving back to your community, making your power user feel special. These are all like some great ways to kind of go ahead and make sure your retention engagement remains strong in your early days. And then these can actually become very mechanized and set processes in your organization.
Thanks so much, Kuntal. And to say sum it all, I mean, say, for example, I'll take the example on Lead Angels side. Now, Lead Angels is what? We are supposed to be an angel investor network. We find some good startups and we invest into them. We can stop right over there. But we just don't stop over there. We go beyond angel investing. We reach out to our portfolio companies. Hey, do you need something? Yes, I need this. So try to get that for that person. On the flip side, the investor. Hey, do you want something? Yes, I need to look at this kind of a startup. So connect them with those kind of guys, whether they've invested or not invested. You know, right. That's how these two customer set. From our perspective, these are customer set.
Yeah.
They will feel far better when they know that yes, we are there to help them out. We are there to hear them out. Even if we can't help them out, pandemic jab chalu hua, so we were actually talking to them and tell them, stay calm, stay on your 2 feet, stay grounded, don't panic. That's the only message that we sent initially. And then we sat together, we discussed what are the strategies you can go about, how to reduce the burn, how to do this thing. So those are the value-added kind of things. Now we are going a step beyond. We are saying that, hey, you need a person to do your content, we'll get you interns. You want hires, we will help you in the hiring process. You want a marketing expertise, we will get experts to work with you at a fraction of a cost. Or maybe pro bono also. Okay. So we do all those kind of things. Now what happens is if Kuntal comes across or Aarti comes across a person who wants to start out, he'd say, hey, don't go anywhere, come over here. I hope I'm saying the correct thing, Aarti.
No, you are absolutely.
Okay. So that's how you say go about it. You need to delight your customer by giving an offering which he's not even thinking. Okay. And in today's world, a simple thing, everything is a digitized, a simple good morning, wish you have many happy returns of the day on your birthday, first thing in the morning. That brings a smile on your face here. And here is a small coupon which you can use. You got your engagement going in. I'm sure if you put a message out to a lady, I think at least 20 to 40% of the time you will get someone to click on that say discount coupon. Am I right on those stats, Kuntal?
Yeah, I mean, I think, because you've established a relationship and, someone kind of trusts you, then to kind of go ahead and have that transaction. I mean, you may not even have to do a coupon code, to be honest.
Exactly. You need not give out that 15%.
Right. I mean, discounts is honestly sometimes, a way that we feel we need to get customers in, but sometimes I also feel that it's become a bit of a lazy mechanism as such.
True.
You may not have to if, your relationship is so powerful and she believes that what you're doing is so fantastic that it is valuable as it is what you're doing, and you don't need to kind of give any additional discounts. I mean, I'm not saying that we have reached there, but I would love it if we can get there where we can just say, hey, you know what, no discounts at all. And it's the customer just believes she's getting a tremendous amount of value in terms of what she's getting from us.
Right. And so I think with that, we will come to a close. We are already 11 minutes past. Vaibhav, Tridev, anyone who has a question, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Manish Johri from Lead Angels. There's only one you will. You have this mug also right there as a picture over there. You can connect to Aarti and Kuntal for special inputs on say analytics around marketing or on say marketing. But more importantly, you can fill up the form and we will reach out to you with your questions answered. If you say fill out all the forms, just take those links, just say click on the links right now. Keep it on the side. Once you are over with this, just fill those up for us. We will provide you a better program. We'll help you with your answers also. We've got all these questions already recorded. And if you put across your emails and your contacts in the forms, we will specifically reach out to you to have targeted sessions around your startups. We could do that also. Okay. With that, I think would like to come to a close. Thanks so much to say Vinay Kothari, Aarti Gupta, Kuntal Malia for being the panelist. And thank you so much for the audience for the patient hearing and helping us with the kind of questions that you have to get greater insights, not only for the audience at large, but for ourselves also to get a clearer picture of how much of the aspect do we know or how much more do we need to know for that matter. And life, as I say, is a learning each day, every day. Every day is a changing process and embrace change or perish. Right, Kuntal?
Yeah, absolutely. No. I think it's also part of part of the fun of the startup. But thanks so much for having us. It was great talking to everyone and seeing the kind of interesting questions that are coming up.
Right. Thank you so much. And look forward to having another Power Pack session with you guys. More on the analytics side next time. We'll do that. And yes. Any, Dhruv, would you like to say a few words? So for everyone, Dhruv is the author of Funding Your Startups and Other Nightmares. These two founders will tell you how starting up a venture is as much as nightmare, as much as excitement. Okay, because you're responsible now for so many people. That's a book, Funding Your Startups and Other Nightmares.
I just want to tell you, I keep learning from all of you guys, including the audience. And that's what goes into these books.
Okay. And our persistent framework has also come from through investments.
Yes. And by the way, the next book will have the Go Desi story. And the book after that will have the story of Aarti and Kuntal, which I haven't yet thought about. Even they are not aware.
Yeah.
we also have the co-writer. I mean, Sushanta is also on call. Sushanta, if you would like to say something before we end this call. Yeah, he's also joined.
Yeah, I think he's just about wonderful. So Shanto, could you add a few words to the program? No, I think he's on the security check. So, but I think
he's eating Desi Pops.
So for everyone, I'm like, you're most welcome to join Lead Angels as a beneficiary of our portfolio services program. Join us. We can help you not only through investments, but through these services, portfolio services. And also we've got Lead Advisory, which helps companies raise the next round of funds. Of course, there will be screening and there'll be other things, but some part, obviously, we are there for, we are entrepreneurs first driven network. We've been entrepreneurs ourselves, so we understand what are the pains people go through. We've advised a number of entrepreneurs. We understand what others also go through pain. In fact, that is exactly coined in the book name, funding your startups and other nightmares. Because once you start out, it's a journey. It's all an uphill task, and it's a very challenging one. And kudos to both of you and the other founders we have on this platform. Kudos to all of you. You've taken a brave step, and as they say, hum honge kamyab ek din. Oh, deep in my heart, we shall overcome one day. Both the songs are the same tune, the Hindi and the English one.
Manish is very, very poetic today. क्या हो गया Manish?
सर बीवी को पटाना है अभी, वो नाराज हो रही है सैटरडे को.
बीवी तो यहाँ है ही नहीं, किसको पटा रहा है?
अभी जाकर पटाना होगा ना.
सिर्फ सुशांत तो उसको पटाने का कोई फायदा नहीं, वो नहीं होगा.
Okay, thank you so much everyone once again, and thanks for the extra 15-16 minutes. Good day to all of you, and please fill up the feedback form, and look forward to having you on board for the next series of program, which will be on HR, on hiring the right people, how to hire your co-founder, how to get your co-founder on board, how to get a founding team, which is as much a co-founder as much as you yourself are. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Vikram, look forward to having you in. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
Big capital.
Thank you.